Central Command, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, just posted on its social media account that they're aware of the loss of a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft. The Post goes on to say that there was an incident. It occurred in friendly airspace. 2 aircraft were involved in the incident. One of the aircraft went down in western Iraq. The second landed safely. CENTCOM says this was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. We're joined now by Pennsylvania Democratic Representative Chrissy Houlihan. She served in the U.S. Air Force and is a member of the Armed Services and Intelligence Committees in the House. This just happened, so I know what we know about it, what you know about it might be very limited, but can you give us any idea of what happened or what this sounds like to you, an Air Force veteran?
Sure. So this is a really large refueling aircraft. There are hundreds of them in service, mostly in times like this, doing exactly what they're designed for, which is to refuel both bombers and also smaller jets, as an example. And they fly with a boom that is able to attach to a smaller or larger plane and deliver fuels. So that extends the range of each of these planes very considerably. It's sort of a leapfrog effect from one place to another. And so it is, without any more information than you have, entirely possible that there was some sort of an accident in the process of refueling that would have involved both aircraft, and that one might have gone to safety, as the tweet seems to indicate, and one might have gone possibly to ground. And there seemed to be some sort of efforts on recovery of the aircraft and also of rescue. And so that's effectively what we know. And what we also know is that this is the cost of war. It's enormously complex. The logistics of getting all of this stuff, people and product across oceans, is an enormously hazardous effort, and one that requires everything to go exactly right. And so we won't know probably for a while what actually happened, but that's effectively what's likely to have happened.
Obviously, the greatest cost of war has to do with our fallen service members and our wounded service members. We know of 7 who have been killed, more than 140 wounded, and that was from a few days ago. We don't know what this will result in this accident. Hopefully nothing, but it's tough to say.
You're getting more details on this crash, this KC-135 refueling aircraft missing. CENTCOM says it went down over western Iraq. What are you learning?
Yeah, to be clear, CENTCOM says that there was no hostile or friendly fire involved in this incident, but our Pentagon team understand from a US official that the second aircraft was also a KC-135 refueling aircraft, and that at least 5 crew members were on board the one that crashed. Now, search and rescue operations are underway. The aircraft is technically missing at this point, and I think there will be lots of questions asked as to exactly how these 2 refueling aircraft, who can often operate in cells in the sky, got into this particular incident. Now, the number of crew on board, 5 in the one that is indeed missing. You would normally expect 3 or 4 crew members to be on board a KC-135, perhaps 1 or 2 more for navigators, or alternatively, that larger number might suggest it could have been a medical evacuation craft. All unclear at this moment, but still an urgent moment, certainly, in which US rescue workers are desperately trying to locate these crew members. I think, Aaron, you may, near your position there, close to Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, according to some of the open source data we've been seeing on flight monitors, one of those 2 KC-135s did a lot of circling near where you are, possibly dumping fuel, put out an emergency signal earlier on today. We understand that may well be connected to that particular incident, indeed be that second plane. But another, I think, stark reminder of the risks that US personnel endure every day, even though this incident appears to have been something of an accident, early information at this point, though, Erin.
Yeah, well, obviously raising a lot of questions, as you say, why there were 2, why there may have been more people on board crew than usual. Was that medical related? What does that mean for obviously we don't know a lot about the injured and what is happening more broadly in this war.
CNN political commentator Adam Kinzinger piloted these exact planes in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. The former congressman joins us now. So, Congressman, you flew this type of plane for 2 years, including during combat. It obviously a critically important aircraft in the fleet of the Air Force. What's your reaction to the news that one has gone down? According to CENTCOM, it was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible news, obviously. You know, you're always wondering if you know the cruise, but it's been a while since I've flown it. But, you know, what the tanker flies, it's inherently safe, but it does do some dangerous things. You know, obviously air refueling, two planes are getting very close to each other. And then sometimes these planes fly formation, and especially at nighttime. I don't know if this happened at night, but nighttime formation, when you have your transponders off and you're using what's called an air-to-air TACAN, that's stuff that can get dangerous. And, you know, this is the first tanker to have crashed. One went down in Afghanistan maybe 10 years ago. But obviously our thoughts and prayers are with the crew and the families. Unfortunately, the Air Force took parachutes off of these things about 10 or 15 years ago to try to save a little bit of weight for gas. And I don't know if this is a situation where those could have come in handy, but I think it's sad that they took them off, unfortunately.
Are there, I mean, what kind of emergency procedures would there be aboard this type of an aircraft?
So there's emergency procedures for everything except if you end up colliding with another plane, because you never know what that's going to look like, how it's going to happen. Basically, if you have a collision, the whole thing is try to get the plane safely landed as quickly and safely as you can. There is a procedure called a breakaway, which is when you're actually refueling another aircraft, in which the tanker puts the throttles full forward and climbs while the receiving aircraft drops. That I've had a few close calls on that one, but there are procedures. But if this was like an air-to-air flying in formation, they accidentally hit each other, at that point, it's just do everything you can as a crew to get it on the ground. And it sounds like the other aircraft was able, thankfully, to safely land.
5 on board and a missing aircraft. Obviously, it is in the dark of the night over Western Iraq right now. We could be looking at more terrible loss of life tonight.
That's correct. And I think, as Nick, I think, pointed out, it highlights it's inherently dangerous business. Military aviation, ships and submarines at sea, it's inherently dangerous. And our hearts need to go out to those families. There's an entire squadron or wing of families waiting to hear about their loved ones, just like just about anyone whose loved ones are deployed to the region as a whole. Right, this is in Western Iraq in friendly skies, but it's a region-wide effort, and there are a lot of service members involved and at risk.
And Jeremy, you know, when we hear about what Nick's reporting about potentially the other aircraft involved having to dump fuel possibly around Ben Gurion here, you know, obviously this airport with some repatriation flights, but essentially the only aircraft in the sky here are military aircraft that we see.
And we can see the landing and the takeoff path of those aircraft from Ben Gurion from our position here. And it has been a continuous flow of these aircraft coming in and out. Even in the days before this attack began from the United States and Israel, it was one of the first real signs that this was going to happen. At least a dozen, I believe, KC-135 planes have been positioned at Ben Gurion Airport.
That you could see there on the tarmac.
Yeah, that were positioned there, and it was an indication